Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch the Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show and co-produced by IVEST. I am the Dude.
And I'm Grim. And today, dude, hold it up. We are going to talk about Remain in Light by Talking Heads. I wish I was holding that one up too, but I have not pulled the trigger yet, although I want to.
Hey, I just pulled it like 3 days ago, but they had it, and I was like, I'm not passing it up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
It's a really good album. Fourth album by Talking Heads.
I'll throw, dude.
Released
October
in 1980.
Yeah. No, that's pretty interesting, and it said here that this was the final, I believe, album that Brian Eno produced with the Talking Heads.
Yeah. And also that there was hesitance of him to work with them at first. And then what is it that he went down to Bahamas where
the Caribbean, Yep.
Yeah.
Chris France and Tina Weymouth. They're I guess they were married, and they went down there. They got done with their tour in '79, and everybody just needed a break.
Because they kind of blew up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And so they took a vacation to the Caribbean and kind of decided not only like, hey, what are we doing with the band? What are we doing with the marriage? Because they were a little tired of David Byrne. I guess they were kind of saying he was pretty controlling, and I think they felt like they were sort of his backing band, and that's just not exactly what they really wanted to do. They wanted to be more of a part of things, and then I guess, David Byrne was doing his stuff. Well, he was working on a solo album, sounded like.
Brian Eno.
With Brian Eno.
Yeah. And once he heard some of the demos that they have, it sounds like interest was peaked, and there they went. So it was, some of it was done in the Bahamas, and the rest in Philadelphia.
New York.
At Sigma Sound, which I guess was
a real rock and roll town.
Oh, yeah, Philly, yeah. And I guess that studio was known normally to have like kind of soul stuff or whatever. Like they weren't the typical band that was going to come into that studio to work.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the way at least what I sort of heard was when they were down in the Bahamas, it was more of they were experimenting, and they were really trying to kind of do some different stuff and incorporating. I guess it was more of a Nigerian
Afrobeat band, Fela Kuti.
Yeah, exactly, that dude. Yeah.
Now there's something that I wanted to mention with this album that's interesting is when I've been listening to this album for many years, but I had not read about it like we do when we kind of do our homework for the podcast.
When we do,
but I had come upon an artist via NPR named Angelique Kidjo, and she's an African artist. And dude, she actually covered the whole album.
Dude.
Because in what she was saying was that this music is based on, it's not a copy, but it's based on African music. And so for that, she did a version that if it was like more like Fela Kuti would have recorded this album, that's what her version is like. And I've listened to her whole album of it, and it's really interesting to hear someone with that perspective do a take on the album. I thought it was cool.
Dude, that is, I'd really like to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of the story of this album a little bit sort of reminded me, and we've done a scratch on this album. So please, everyone, go back and look at it. But the Arcade Fire's Reflector, how they really incorporated, the Haitian sound with that album. Now, but what they did though is they did it in a way where it was an accent to the music. It wasn't completely done like in that they still had kind of their sound and their thing. Yeah. But they incorporated those elements into it, which I think they were able to blend it together nicely, and I think Talking Heads were really able to do that here. And it sounded like that a lot of the work that they did down in the Caribbean is where they were doing a lot of recording and the loops and things that they were coming up with. and then when they went kind of into the city, whether back in Philly, I think that's where David put in a lot of the vocals and the lyrics.
Well, yeah, because I guess he had a lot of
the
writer's
guitar
block.
too. Yeah. I guess he did have a lot of writer's block too.
But it's interesting because he also described them working as like, this was almost like primitive sampling, where they were like human samplers, where they would record them doing a bunch of grooves, and from that groove they'd get a little section they'd like, and then they'd have to learn how to do this and make it repetitious and make it sticky and like really get in on that groove.
Well, and I think they said like the basic tracks really, they focus, like you were saying, like it focused on rhythm and essentially like using one chord a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, and when you listen to the songs, they do that because the chord is like this constant throughout, and then the vocals kind of make it go different places to me. But like the basis of the instrumentation is often pretty much the same. As they go through things, but it makes an interesting sound that I just, that does pull like from, like the Fela Kuti and a lot of that Nigerian, a lot of the Nigerian, sound. I don't want to say dance-ish music, but there's an interesting album that I would urge people to listen to if you haven't already, called Nigeria 70. And it's like, to me, it's like listening to the raw music that inspired this album. That whole record, which is various artists, not just Fela Kuti, but like various artists, and it's really worth listening to. Sweet.
Well, there was one thing, and I don't know if you saw this or had this in your notes at all. I'm curious if you know about this piece of equipment, the Lexicon 220 digital reverb.
Dude, thing. I do actually. I've never used a Lexicon reverb. I've never owned a Lexicon reverb, but I know that when it came out, that reverb unit was like the absolute shit in studios.
It was a BFD, huh?
Because it just did things. It was the first unit that was able to mimic environments and do it in a way that was like a faithful reproduction.
Yeah. That sounds like it would be something that people would want.
Oh, dude, I've heard people talk about. I mean, there's still I haven't. I mean, I could go on eBay, but I'm telling you, there is still probably a huge market for used Lexicon units from that time period because they're so iconic with that sound now.
Right.
Just like some of the old drum machines of the 80s. I mean, stuff that like was great then, but now the market on them is insane because how many of them are still around and in good shape? Like people will pay to get these things totally revamped and refurbished because they're, they don't make them like that anymore. Like everyone would say.
Don't make it like they used to.
Yeah.
I also, one of the things that I saw and noticed that, what did he do? So who's the guitarist? They brought in a different guitarist. They recruited a guitarist.
Oh, dude, Adrian Belew. I was going to talk about Adrian Belew.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
As far as I know, Adrian Belew just played a lot of the solos. And he was famous in his own right. By this time, he had been working, or maybe not by this time, but he had worked with Frank Zappa. He ended up going with King Crimson in the 80s and stuff. And I mean, he was a very accomplished guitarist in his own right, but that sound. And it's funny because from what I read, they just label it the Roland guitar synthesizer. And so when you look that up, dude, Roland has made guitar synthesizers throughout the years. Some of them are embedded in the guitar itself. Others are like pedal units. And a lot of those sounds that he makes, I could probably make by plugging my guitar through these synthesizers. But like, dude, that sound at that time, I mean, think about that.
I am.
This was like before Tom Morello, like all
Yeah.
I feel like when people heard that, I mean, it's like his guitar went Atari.
Yeah, no, 100%. There is some stuff, and I have that in some of my notes for some of these songs. I'm like, wow, like that.
Oh, just in the beginning of Born Under Punches. I mean, shit, dude.
Straight up video games, man.
And it's really cool and interesting, but I couldn't find definitively what version that he used, but he did go on tour with them. And I believe he was probably still on tour with them when they did the documentary that I own this, Stop Making Sense. And I told you to watch it. But yeah, in the Stop Making Sense. And dude, they get Bernie Worrell, who used to be in Parliament Funkadelic playing keyboards. I mean, they like brought a bunch of people in when they toured. But
well, I don't know if we want to kind of get into it. You want to get into the album, Graham?
Yeah, the only thing that I thought might also be worth noting was kind of how some of the vocals were done, because we talked about how like a lot of the tapes were done in loops and they acted as their own samplers. And I swear, as you listen to it, sometimes I feel like you can hear the loops a little bit.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
But yeah, it just I was really interested to hear that they listened to and took modern hip hop, which would have been really early stuff, but like as kind of a cue that the lyrics needed to change, that like a song didn't need to be like this one very specific story or something, and the lyrics were kind of disjointed and rhymed in a certain way. And like stream of consciousness. That was interesting to me, because when you listen to them, sometimes it's hard to really deduce like what is this song about. Like Once in a Lifetime, the hit is probably the easiest one, because it's like you just go through life and you're kind of I think David Byrne said like on autopilot, and then you find yourself in these places and you're like, how the hell did I get here?
Damn, I've been on autopilot for years.
Dude, I hear you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess with that, I'm totally good to get into the tracks. I felt like that was an interesting point. Oh, what about the cover? The cover.
So
you should have seen the cover they wanted to do.
The cover they wanted. Now, this is one thing that I found interesting was I was under the impression that this was the initial front cover, but on the album, at least that I have here,
that's the cover. Yeah,
this is it. And they obviously, their faces are on it, and then they took some very, I don't know, like, dude, Microsoft Paint probably wasn't even a thing,
like extremely primitive.
Yeah, very primitive. And obviously colored their faces. I did read somewhere, I don't know where it was, that apparently Brian Eno felt like he was so much of a part of things. He felt like he should be on the cover. It looks like they decided not to go that route.
No, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Brian. Nice name, but no. But yeah,
dude. I think they said that they worked with someone from MIT to do the computerized stuff. And it's interesting because that was, I believe, listed as one of the first albums to have like a computerized image in the cover, which is kind of cool. Right.
It is. No, it is very cool.
It's totally primitive, but I like it because I think there was some critic who said like the cover completely goes against what the name of the title is, but because the way their faces are covered, the band would not in fact remain in light.
Exactly. It's like you become one with the band.
Yeah, there's no division.
There's no division.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, getting into the tracks, we'll go with side one. I mean, I think it's a good place to start. And we talked about this song already a little bit, but Born Under Punches, the heat goes on. Dude, like right away when you put this on, you're like, whoa, this is going to be different. Like,
and dude, it's so sticky. That's what I love about it. Like to me, the whole, like especially the first side. With Born Under Punches, Crosseyed and Painless, and The Great Curve, like it's sticky, man. Like the way the guitar is played, just it's easy to get in that groove. I feel like
it is, dude. And this one is just such a funky song, man.
I know.
Holy hell! Like it just, before I started listening to this, and this is, I mean, I had heard, some of the songs, I'd listened to the album, but I got to admit, I hadn't given it the attention that it deserved. And
I'm glad to hear
sitting
that.
sitting down, I mean, that's why I picked it up, because I was like, man, like, even the first couple times I listened to it, I was like, okay. But then something, I don't know, something clicks, man. I know. And it definitely draws you in. And I think part of it is those loops.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, dude, we talked about the computer and the digital sounds and the Mario Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
That's really what did it. And now you're saying those sounds is what he did with
Adrian Belew.
Yeah. And that's just guitar though.
But he was using the Roland guitar synthesizer. And like I said, I looked that up, and dude, there are various people have had them built into guitars, or it's a huge pedal setup with expression pedals. And
right.
It's interesting though, because when I also watched some videos of Adrian Belew making these amazing sounds, not using this guitar synthesizer, just using like a slide and some various pedals. And, what it really to me is like a precursor to like the Tom Morello sound and all that stuff. It uses the guitar in a unique and interesting way. But it's, I like it when you hear it. It's like, you're kind of like,
I've never heard nothing like that before.
Yep. I did not see that coming. But one thing that's interesting is how the vinyl is cut up. And before, I'm just going to make a general comment about the album as a whole. To me, after Once in a Lifetime, the album slows down. And it just keeps slowing down until the end. And I see with the times of the songs that there's no way they could have cut it differently. But in my head, Once in a Lifetime is the halfway mark, because it slows down dramatically after that.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. Does.
Anyways.
Well, track number 2 on side 1, Crosseyed and Painless. Dude, this one again, it's a wild kind of song. Dude, lots of different percussion. There's like cowbell loops, congas, bells. You want to know what it really, when I heard this song, it really reminded me of LCD Sound System.
Oh, dude, for sure. I could see that. Yeah.
Especially the song Sound of Silver. That's the one that really stuck with me. When I heard this song and kind of listening to Sound of Silver, just sort of the elements and the way things, so many layers. And one thing, LCD Sound System, I love the way that they do things is they slowly build stuff over time. And all of a sudden, you don't realize, like, oh my God, holy shit, there's like so much going on right now. And I just saw so much influence in that song and kind of their music from this.
That, for sure.
So yeah, that was my big takeaway from this track.
This is my favorite song off the album.
Oh, is it?
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Oof. Ooh. All right, man. I didn't pick a favorite song, but to be honest,
number one, it's hard to beat number 1 too. Born. I
love the album, but side 1 to me is just killer.
I know,
just killer.
And you go into the Great Curve, and dude, the Great Curve really has the congas and the alternate percussion and all those other drums. And I like how fast it is. I mean, it is real fast.
Real. They're very fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, this is one of those songs where I was like, the rhythm kind of straightforward and consistent, but it comes in as so many layers, right?
Yeah.
And they layer the background vocals really nice, and his vocals are layered as well. But there's that guitar solo kind of in the middle. It sort of comes out of nowhere, and it's a little jarring because
it is.
There's something kind of just
but
really
you should have
gritty,
expected it by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
What were you waiting for?
And so then you flip the record, and that's what's trippy to me is I guess
dude, Once in a Lifetime.
I mean, for me, like I said, now not having the vinyl yet, It just seems more natural to flip it after Once in a Lifetime, but at this time you are you're only able to do what the constraints of the medium allow, which is flip it into Once in a Lifetime, which is an awesome the hit. Yeah. And did make it on Rolling Stone's top 500 songs.
It did.
Probably not high enough, but dude, it's there.
Yep. Dude, did you see that Robert Palmer plays guitar and percussion on this song?
Robert Palmer, like Simply Irresistible Robert Palmer?
I imagine, I mean, there's probably more than one, but I think so.
I don't know, dude. Robert Palmer is pretty. Let's look.
That's what it said.
No, I'm going to look too, but I'm pretty.
Okay.
Oh, that's definitely him, but I'm going to.
So while you're looking that up, one thing that I found interesting is, dude, so Brian Eno did not like the first note of the bass line on this song as it was originally recorded. So he re-recorded it himself. And then they got back to New York. And when Eno left the studio, Weymouth went and put her bass line in again. And then, I just thought that was really, really kind of funny.
So, yeah, that is Robert Palmer from Addicted to Love and Simply Irresistible, two both huge 80s hits.
Yes.
Anyways.
Now, have you seen the video for this song?
Oh, yeah. Once in a Lifetime? Oh, hell's yeah, son.
Okay.
Oh.
I mean, I figured you'd seen it, but have you seen it recently and remember it? Okay.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. He's got like those shoulder pads in his suit, kind of. And when you see him, did you watch Remain in Light? Did you watch?
I watched the documentary. I watched a lot of it.
Did you watch how the concert starts? Because that's what I thought was cool about it. Like, he comes out in that suit with the big shoulders, and he comes out with a boombox. And he has a mic on the floor and a mic on his guitar or maybe his guitar, but it's an acoustic. And he plays the boombox and it plays a beat. And he plays to that and sings. And then eventually a guitarist comes out and a bass player comes out and the drummer comes out. And then Bernie Worrell comes out and Adrian Belew, like all these people and the background singers. And by like 3 songs in or 4 songs in, they got like the whole huge touring band.
Everybody.
But it's such a cool way to start it because it's like just him in that weird, awkward suit where it almost looks like he has a little head, like a Beetlejuice head. You know?
Beetlejuice. Yep.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just, dude, really innovative band and person.
Very innovative. So moving on. Houses in Motion.
Yeah. To me, this is where the album slows.
Sure.
This isn't the slowest
off the album.
It's
definitely not.
What was the first one? Was it Once in a Lifetime or Crosseyed and Painless?
I believe it was.
No, it was Crosseyed and Painless.
Crosseyed and Painless. Yeah.
And then Once in a Lifetime. And then this one.
Yeah, I feel like this one has like a kind of a funky intro, really thick sound. It kind of does remind me a little bit of like the NBA Jam theme, sort of a little bit, but.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really awesome.
The vocals I felt they're very
more
front
like speaks them.
Yeah. And he'll do that in some of these songs too. Like even with what do you call it? Once in a Lifetime, it was almost like he's giving a sermon. Is kind of how it's been described.
Well, yeah, and I hear that once somebody like pointed that out, I'm like, I get it. He's really
Yeah, most definitely.
Now I will say with this one, isn't this the one where he talks about it sounds like it's this person in the United States and they see these foreigners coming in and getting jobs and. If you listen to the lyrics, I'm pretty sure it's either this one or Seen and Not Seen. But it's interesting because it talks about it as like the perspective of this person who feels like they're, that this is their home, their country, and then they see these foreigners coming in and getting just listen to the lyrics and yeah.
I will next time I give it a spin.
Yeah.
Well,
so
talking about the thing with seen and not seen is that song is really, that's kind of telling a story of, basically it's about kind of like a guy not having like the face that he imagined.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that it's really about people probably not exactly having the lives that they imagine.
Oh, sure.
Not, who they are. But I think some of the lyrics, although some people might have made mistakes, they may have arrived at an appearance that bears no relationship to them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all of a sudden you start going down this path, and then you wake up one day. How am I not myself?
Yeah.
How am I not myself? How am I not myself?
Well, it's weird because when I heard this, and I guess I didn't like read too deep into it, but upon like initially looking at those lyrics and thinking about them, it almost sounded like it was like about a serial killer or something, which they already did with the song Psycho Killer, but yeah.
But hey, well, there you go. Track number 4, side 2, Listening Wind.
Now this may actually be the one about the foreigners and stuff. I didn't take good enough notes. It's on me. Sorry.
That's my notes, dude. This song, dude, is kind of like you said, the album kind of turns and slows down, but this is where I feel like these last 2 songs at the end really slow down. This song is dark and haunting, man.
Yeah,
there's just like a lot of strange sounds. It doesn't feel like the rest of the album at all.
No,
they got into sort of this, maybe it was when they were in the Bahamas and they, lit some candles and got a little loose, and they went into this like real, just kind of spacey slow jam. Kind of like Space Jam, the movie, the Michael Jordan one. Not the compromised second draft.
No.
So yeah, but it feels like they kind of did that and then just pulled parts from that jam to kind of put
and
this
same
together.
Thing with the last track, the Overload. I mean, it not that dissimilar from that at all.
Dude, the Overload feels like it's cultish, man. We're talking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Get the punch ready. I mean,
yeah. I don't know if you have your purple suit with the away team logo and or your black Nikes, but it would be time to put them on now. The apple sauce and cyanide mixture is being prepared as we speak.
Now?
Yeah.
Like
fucking
now.
The spaceships right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. This is the note that I had for this song. I was like, I feel like this is like their slow version of climbing up the walls.
It's good.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I like it.
But I think that kind of gets us to it. Not kind of. It does get us to the end of the album. I could not tell you who was on the tee, but I feel like you introduced me to this album, so I feel like you need to scratch first. How do you feel about that? Yep.
Dude.
And doodle.
I think I'm gonna scratch the Overload, man, because like the Listening Wind is slow enough, and I guess I'd rather end on that weird darkness than like go and drag it out for another 6 minutes and 25 seconds.
Shocker. Come on, man. We all knew this was Islanders Capitals. We all knew it. We knew it was going there. And dude, same reason, same thing. I'll go ahead and just probably take us into double overtime and say I'd scratch Listening Wind.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Because even though, the album kind of does slow down, I feel like it almost comes to a screeching halt with these last 2 songs. Yeah. And they're just kind of weird songs, and I don't feel like it kind of fits with everything that came before.
I agree.
That's my thing. That's my B.
So, I'm going to give another moment of silence there for the double overtime. But yeah, that would have been the same thing. I mean, it just, it's interesting because usually a lot of times you hear albums being like spaced out in a certain way to kind of have ebbs and flows. But this
ebbs and flows. There's an arch, right? Yeah.
Dude, yeah, this one just kind of...
Yeah, and then it falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I still really like it. But yeah.
Yep.
Like, don't be driving at night and have listening wind in the overload because you might fall asleep behind the wheel and hit a tree. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
But awesome band and awesome album. And I'm glad that most people regard this as like one of the most important albums of the 80s. And because I think it is.
Dude. And it has such a good story. You know, we've talked about those documentaries that we watch with like Ultimate albums. And I would love to see an Ultimate albums on this. It just sounds like there's a lot of stuff that went on in the background. You know, there's some friction within the band. You know, you got Brian Eno kind of putting in parts and whatnot. Like it'd be really good to kind of just get some behind the scenes on this album.
So if you know anything about it, please go ahead and comment, and while you're there, give us a big
like, subscribe, and comment below.
Because we need to know about that. So I guess in the meantime, it's Scratch, dude.
And it's time to go on the Dude and Grim Show.
Scratch Your Track is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by Moore and the Tims. Copyright 2021, The Dude and Grim Show.